In the days of its infancy, the stunt performer's profession was pioneered by the daring and ingenuity of acrobats and circus acts. As the public's demand for on-screen chases, crashes, jumps, smashes, and explosions is never satisfied, so the stunt performer has evolved into a highly trained professional. This is not a life for the timid. This is where men and women challenge the impossible and make it happen before your eyes.
300 pounds of pressure.
Stuntman for the PlayStation 2 is a very unique driving game. As the name implies, you portray a stuntman behind the wheel of various vehicles in several different action movies. It forces you to make quick decisions and even quicker reactions on the controller. Stuntman basically has three modes of play. There's the career mode, which is the main single-player part, which is all going through the films and shooting the scenes and getting the theatrical trailers and that good stuff, which is the main part of the game that you'll play. There's also a driving test mode that has several different driving tests that basically gauges your ability of driving fast, performing stunts, as well as accuracy. They got all these cones set up, and you got to pull around these cones and try to be as accurate as possible. It's very hard, but it's not that cool at all. Actually, it seems kind of thrown in there. Aside from the career mode and the driving test, there is a third mode which is called the stunt constructor. And basically, if you've ever seen a level editor, like say for instance the Tony Hawk skate park editor, it's similar to that, in that you're basically given the arena that you would see stuntmen perform stunts in. You're basically given this big arena, and you're given some what they call toys, that they're ramps and there's obstacles and stuff to drive through and jump over and smash through. The main single player part of the game, and what you're going to buy a stuntman for, is the career mode. And the career mode basically puts you in the driver's seat as a stuntman, a professional stuntman that gets paid to do stunts for movies. When you first start out career mode, basically you're asked to perform stunts for the first movie. All the movies, there's 6 in all, have these strange themes that are basically they're so recognizable it's not even funny. Like the names are even a play on words, and it really shows exactly what movie they're making fun of. For instance, there's a whooping and a hollering, and it's almost a character for character ripoff of the Dukes of Hazzard. And it's a very good ripoff of the Dukes of Hazzard. It's very, like the parts that they show, the CG stuff is very funny. And as you can imagine, you're in an orange car jumping over lots of rivers and lots of houses and stuff. And they even have the horn. There's that one. There's also one that's called Conspiracy. It's basically a Tom Clancy-esque kind of, spy espionage type of, movie. You basically are on a snowmobile through lots of that level. Another one that's really good is a Hong Kong action flick, kind of like Blood Oath, it's called. Basically a John Woo-styled film, and you're driving lots of high-performance sports cars through the crowded streets of Bangkok. Later on in the game, you get to the hardest level and the last level in the game, which is called Live Twice for Tomorrow. Once again, play on words, very similar to the James Bond films in the real world. And that game, once again, you're piloting lots of high-performance sports cars, and that one is extremely hard. Each film is broken up into several scenes. Those scenes are basically like levels. And the way it works is each level opens up and has a very brief and very vague description of what you're going to be doing through that particular level. The trick is you basically get started. The director yells action, and you're rolling in the car. The trick is you have to basically hit several individual stunts. On average, there are anywhere from like a dozen to 20 different individual stunts throughout a level. And basically you have to hit your mark on each one of those stunts right on cue and continue to the next without messing up. And you have to do that all the way through the level to pass it. If you go too slow, the level's over. If you wreck your car, the level's over. If you mess up pretty much at all, the level's over. You can mess up to a certain extent. You can not get real close to an explosion. You can miss a jump here or there. Just as long as you keep on progressing through the level and get a certain percentage of those stunts right throughout that level, you'll pass the level at the end. The way the game kind of leads you through these levels that you're basically seeing for the first time that you play them is by giving you these visual aids. There are 2 forms. One is a set of green arrows that kind of generally guide you in the direction that you're supposed to be traveling in. The second is very specific symbols, yellow bright symbols, that show you where and what stunt you're supposed to perform. Accompanying these visual aids is the director's voice, which is basically, he's just constantly yelling at you, telling you, smash through the boxes, turn left, do all this other stuff. And it's annoying to a certain extent after a while, but it's very necessary to how the game works. after successfully completing all the levels within a film, you're treated with a little CG FMV sequence that basically shows you a theatrical trailer for the film you just worked on. Within the CG sequences, intercut in between, the actual CG itself, you will see in-game footage of you performing the stunts that you did in that level. So, say that level had a big jump that, had you flying through the air and, smashed through a barn at the end of it. That might be a little part of a clip they'll have within the pieces of the CG. So basically, just imagine it being a theatrical trailer. All the character stuff, the dialogue and everything is all CG, but when it comes to the action driving parts, that's in-game footage of you driving. Visually, Stuntman is a very pretty game. There's lots of different things that it does well visually that makes it look attractive. The two biggest things that really kind of make you take notice of the way Stuntman looks is actually the particle and the physics system that's used in the game. The physics system in Stuntman is very similar to the one that they used in Driver. The cars all handle very realistically. Even though you got a sports car, it handles very well, very fast. Then you move over to a Jeep or a troop carrier, and then of course the handling is not so responsive. The speed is not really quite there, and the acceleration is not quite right there. But you're driving a big, huge lumbering vehicle down the road that can smash through walls and tons of objects. That's where the particle system comes in. The physics match with the particle system is really strange. Here's an example. Say you're driving your car down a road and you smash into a wall. Depending on how fast you're going, based on the physics system, that'll cause damage to your car. This damage is visual, and you can see that it'll go as far as knocking the hood off your car. It'll knock the doors off your car. It'll really bang up the car quite a bit. Another thing that makes Stuntman look better than it actually does is the volumetric shadowing in the game. It's neat because, and it's almost necessary for a game like this, where depth perception is very key into determining how you're going to turn, where you're going to turn, when you're going to brake. The volumetric shadowing basically is real-world shadowing. Everything in the game has and casts a shadow, and it helps give the game quite a bit of depth in terms of depth of view. In the audio department, Stuntman also has a ton of stuff going on. Basically, the director's yelling in your ear, telling you what stunts to perform constantly throughout the level. All of the 6 movies that you're portraying, you're a stuntman in, have very good themed music that fit the type of movie they're in. For instance, the Scarab of Lost Souls portion of the game, those levels actually have a theme that runs throughout them that fits the Indiana Jones style almost to a T. So much so that, it's identical to the original Indiana Jones theme song almost. But all the movies have varying music that really fit their particular themes very well. The sound effects and the vehicle noises are all very well done. All the vehicles actually have distinct engine sounds from everything to anything in the game. The sound effects are all very well done as well. In the end, Stuntman is, in my opinion, a really good game. But the one thing you have to be careful about Stuntman is it's quite evident that it's not a game that's for everyone. It's not your typical driving game. It's a very frustrating, challenging game to play. Some people won't think that the reward of finally, the satisfaction of actually finishing a level and completing it after, trying it 20, 30 times is worth it. Some people think that the game is just too hard, too frustrating. I personally love the high pressure stakes of, being forced into, making quick decisions and hoping that, my reaction skills with the controller are good enough to get me to where I need to be in time. While I certainly enjoy Stuntman, I do know a lot of people here in the office actually didn't. That's why the only suggestion that I could give for Stuntman in terms of, buying advice is simply to go out and rent it for yourself. Conceivably, you could rent the game and within 3 days, of dedicated play, you could totally beat it and see pretty much everything you'd want to see anyways. At the very least, though, renting it would be a good way just to see and determine whether or not you would think that Stuntman is frustrating or just challenging. So, check it out.